Well, hello again, Julie. Today we're going over how to make a real transparency out of a item that's not as easy as the last ones, even though we didn't need to make a transparency, the white, as I showed you, would have made it real easy. But because these ones have, if you look at the previews, don't have white backgrounds, you have to get a little more nifty on your skills. Luckily for you, you have me. Now, some of these would be real hard to use the magic wand tool because the blue, if you select the blue here, it's going to select the blue on the shirt. So I'm going to pick one that's rather easy comparatively to do. They're actually not that easy, but this one has red on blue, so it's a little bit easier. But I'm going to show you how to do it. Now, that's the preview image. I didn't actually mean to do that. I'm going to open it in Adobe Photoshop 2015. That's a little I work in Photoshop. I should have it automatically open in Photoshop. But anyway, I work in After Effects. So now what we have here is we have one image that's locked, which is our background. So I'm going to hit Apple J. I know these things, I'm just going to say them so they're in your head. Don't try to memorize them yet. But I'll teach you how to use Photoshop one day. So you hit Apple J, that creates another layer. I can get rid of that one. Okay, now if I was to delete something, to give you an example, if I was to erase something, there's a transparency under there. But we're not going to do that just yet because I want to show you the proper way to do it. Now, by the way, you see the size of the brush? I can change that by using the brackets. The brackets are the ones right under the delete key. Very useful because let's say I wanted to just remove that versus that. Big difference. So the bracket keys, which are right under the plus key. Now, the first thing I would do is, in reality, I'd probably just do this. I'd probably just start erasing this stuff. Just start this stuff and then work on that. But for purposes of showing you, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it the way that most people would do it, which is a little bit easier, I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna select the magic wand tool again. Whoops, I unselected it. And if you hold down Shift, oh, you know what? Before we do that, let's change the size because if you see how long it takes to recognize that. See how like it spins. Now I have a really fast computer. The only reason it's doing that is because it has to sit there and read it. And this is going fairly fast, but trust me, on your computers it won't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize it first. Now I still have no idea what size you want. It's huge right now, 300. 300 is for print, but you just said halfway asleep that it was for print. So just to give you an idea of the size that we're dealing with, is 44 by 11 by 6609. HD resolution is 1920 by 1920 by 1080. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to change this down to, now this thing, as long as you leave it locked, if you unlock this, you could stretch it, which you did all over the place on your last PowerPoint presentation. You never want to stretch an item, especially of a person, especially of an actor. So I'm gonna make it 1000, and that would make it 1000 by 1498, which is almost HD resolution. But I don't know what you want, and you can't tell me, so I'm just gonna leave it at that, which is big enough to still work with. It changes the size, but if you double click the hand, it'll bring it back up to fit to screen, is what it's called. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select the magic wand tool, and I'm just going to hold down and shift. We're going to avoid hitting reds because we don't want it to select her. And if we select a red, it will select her. For example. Oh no, because I don't have contiguous. I have contiguous off. If I have contiguous on and I selected that, you see how it selects her? We don't want that. So that's why we want contiguous on. So now I'm going to I just screwed up. Okay, so let's lower the tolerance so that it will pick more. So essentially, you'll understand what I'm doing in a second here, but it doesn't need to be that low. Okay, so essentially, I'm holding down Shift. I'm getting rid of all of these items one piece at a time. probably turning off contiguous and not selecting red would be the faster way, but I really want you to understand what I'm doing. Okay, I have enough so that you can get the general idea. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Q. When I hit Q, it's going to give me a representation of what it's going to cut out and what it's not going to cut out. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the paintbrush, which you can select by hitting B, and the same thing with the brackets to change the size. And now, as long as it's on black and white, you can remove red. Now you see if I got rid of that, she's selected. Can you see that? So I'm going to remove red. If I added red, I could hit X and then I can add red. But we don't want to add red, we want to get rid of it. We want her to be all red because she's our cutout. And you got to mess around with the settings on the size of the brush. Once you get in there real close, like for example, I'd hit zoom. I'm not going to show you this whole thing because you don't need to see it all, but I would hit zoom and then I would start to go, I would go back to the eraser and yeah, and I would, I'm sorry, go back to the brush, excuse me. I go back to the brush and I would start deleting, you know, more finely. And I'm not going to sit here and show you the whole thing. I'm just going to show you that that's what I'm doing. Now double click in the hand, bring me back there, and there you can see that that's what I got to do around this whole edge there and around here. I'm not going to, I'll make it as perfect as I can without spending, you know, if it was for ABC, I'd have to spend a lot of time on it because they pay me a lot of money to do it. But it'll look perfect. I'll spend enough time on it, don't worry. I should have said that. So anyway, without going in any further into it, actually I'll just take that part out there so you can see what I'm talking about. Oops. But since I'm still going to be using what I have here, if I hit Q, now if I highlight that and hit Apple J, everything that I've done so far will be there with a transparency. Whoop, I got to select inverse. Hold on. Oh, shoot. Sorry. If I select inverse, now hit Apple J, which will take out the items that are selected, and I turn this layer off, there is my transparency. Of course, I still have all of this to erase. I could actually just erase it from here, or I can continue doing what I was doing before. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing before, but now you understand that it's a little more difficult, quite difficult if you look at her hair, especially her hair, to get in between all these little spots, and to make good transparency takes time, as opposed to the last one, which already was a transparency. I hope you were right about telling me the one, because the individual ones look like the ones that are set up for, or rather the approved ones look like the ones that are set up for not needing to drop them in like this. But that is how you create a transparency out of a non-transparency. Before, you wanted me to create a transparency out of a transparency, and I didn't even know what to do, so I kept doing different things because you were flustered and not really telling me what to do. But that's it. So that's how you create a transparency. So you know what I'll be doing. Now I've got to go do that to about 8 or 9 images. So it's going to take me a couple minutes. And I hope that the size is right, because if it's not, it actually doesn't really matter. Once I save it, if it's not right and you want me to resize it, now that I know what you want to do, I can resize it in literally seconds. So if it's too big or too small, call me and I'll change it in literally a second. Okay, so I hope you've watched these on your way to work or something, and that is all she wrote. I love you very much, and goodbye.